Alright, welcome back to the channel and thank you for tuning in to Johnny's Motorized Bicycles. I'm getting good at that. What you have in front of you is it's a motor. It's an 80cc motor. I mean, it's nothing special. What it is though, is it is Bear's old motor. So the reason is because I'm gonna rip it apart. Now, it runs completely fine.
It runs completely fine. It runs completely fine. It runs completely fine.
I believe. I took it off the bike because we upgraded to CDH 110 because he wanted something bigger, badder, more fun, and broom brooms and all that. Well, he said the motor was shot, but I forget, honestly, now. Put the new motor on his bike a while ago, and I don't remember why he thought it was busted, but I don't think there's anything wrong with it at all. I think it's completely fine and in working order.
Nope.
Now, there is quite a few miles on this, so I'm not gonna hop it up to make crazy power because, let's face facts, there's just no need. What is gonna be happening with this, though, is it's gonna be going on a bike that has been on the channel for a long time, but hasn't been on the channel in a long time. It should be fun. There's no motor on the bike right now, and it's basically set up to have a bike because it's been a motorized bike its entire life, and it needs something. So we're gonna put something on it, and I feel like this is a perfect candidate. I'm coming up to 2,000 subscribers as the making of this video, which is huge. I think a huge milestone for me, considering I'm, you know, a nobody. So I want to do something special, and I figured something special would be building a really cool motor, which I'm going to do. But because I need something on that bike now, I figured this is a good candidate to just rip apart, not do for the 2,000 subscriber thing, and I can have this apart and back together pretty quick. It's simple, it already runs. I just want to pop it apart, make sure there's no scoring. I also want to change a little bit of the port work because I know it was a little bit meh. So let me break this apart, see what's going on in there, because it's been a while since I've been in here. All right, so real quick, I'm just gonna bring you in and tell you what we found so far. So it's no scoring, we're really good as far as all of that goes. I'm really happy with what I found. Outside of it is extremely dirty, but I'm gonna clean it in the ultrasonic cleaner, so we'll be good there. But stuff that kind of got refreshed on my memory. When I built this, I kept this extremely stock, mainly because I was dealing with building his iron sleeve that was having some kind of hidden crack case problem that I couldn't find at the moment. And I was extremely frustrated, and I was just tired of dealing with his bike because at that point I was working on his other 80 all the time, and his bike calling me up constantly, helping do stuff. And when Bear calls, it's like I just need it done right now, and it's super frustrating and annoying, but I get it because it's motor transportation. You got to get to work, so I get that. But because I was trying to get this done so quickly for him, I'm seeing a lot of stuff. So I kept the squish stock. I didn't sand the head, I didn't sand the top of the cylinder, meaning I didn't deck it. I didn't even deck the intake or the exhaust port from what it looks like. I kept a lot of stuff just as is. So I took and got new measurements. The only problem I'm having is the measurements I'm not 100% sure are gonna be all that great. There seems to be play in the crank. I'm not 100% sure on that yet, but from what I can feel is there seems to be some play. Now, I was already assuming about putting a new crank in here or a new crank bearing at the bare minimum, because this motor does have quite a few miles. He used it for almost a year, and he rides pretty much every day, so it's got a lot of miles on it. But if I'm going to be doing that anyway and freshening up, because I've learned my lesson. Don't put power into an old crank. It never works out. I'm going to crack this completely apart and finish disassembling, take the clutch out, in other words, taking the case in half and throwing everything in ultrasonic. We're going to get this thing clean. The numbers that I did, all I did to this motor was change the exhaust timing. It went from 140 to 160. And that's where I left it. Nonetheless, this is a pretty basic, simple, easy build, so to speak, and should be able to get this done pretty quick. All right, well, I just got it off, and now I can see it clearly without the piston in the way at all or any restrictions, and we have major scratching. Not really scratch. The plating is coming off. So what that tells me is we cannot invest anything in this. We're just not going to. That would just literally be the dumbest thing we could possibly do. Man, that has got a lot of play in it. So hopefully the crank is okay. I'll inspect it a little bit closer, and I think it might just just be the wrist pin that's a real problem. But that stinks because that means we can't put this on there and I can't do anything with it. What should we do? I know no matter what, we got to take this apart. We have to clean it up. We can't use this cylinder, so I'm going to take my little dial indicator off and I'm just going to chunk it. So that's junk, but we do have a good case, so I got to clean it up, throw it in a parts washer, and I got to dig something out because as long as I'm going to go through all this, I might as well just put something different on here. And that is how a Minarelli is born. Okay, so what does that say right there? So there was a major issue with the cylinder, as you know. I already threw it in the garbage. Now this box has come to me, does it give you a date? Here, June 7th, 2022. This come all the way from LA Hover. Now I did open this and look through it. It was a long while ago. But he sent me this saying, hey, have at it. He knew I was a upcoming channel and he wanted to do something for me, just like he did for the other fella. I don't remember the other fella's name, but he got the Phantom 85, I think V3 when it was all said and done. But he basically gave me everything that he used to make his run and work. Now, I'll probably use some of it, most of it, I don't know, but I'll probably have to rejet and I'll have to do some other things, but I do know I'm gonna need all these different adapters. Oh, look at that, got some stickers. Made in China, fixed in America. We'll go through the stickers real quick, let's just see, because I have actually been wanting to get the stickers and dig them out, and I had no reason to really go dig them out. Made in China, fixed in America. He makes these, so that's pretty cool. Danger. Stupid kills, that's pretty much perfect. Oh, his little googly-eyed piston. NT Strong, that's funny because that's actually super good for me because I love NT. Dropped one. Good job, buddy, we'll just say. This one is, oh, you can look but don't touch. How to make power, PPBN. And then this one, ooh, DHL Performance. Now this one came from him, yes, but this is important because that's where this actually came from. Okay, he was given this by that person to try out until he got the official one that was fully ported and whatnot. The stock head for the cylinder, so that's cool. I'll probably run that because, you know, that's what I do. And then the cylinder. Oh man, that thing's heavy. Okay, so for those of you that just do not know, this is called a cylinder. This is the plate that goes on here for what is called a Minarelli cylinder. Why they call it a Minarelli, I'm not 100% sure. I believe it's made by Yamaha. I never did super good research on it, but he did run this. Now, he did use this, he did run this, and he also, he told me he was gonna hone it for me before he sent it to me, so that's cool. You could tell it's got nice little cross hatching in there, so he definitely dingle ball honed it. He did not port the cylinder. There is zero porting done to this cylinder. This is a cast iron cylinder, so that's something to consider too. This works off of a reed. There's a couple reasons why this makes so much power, but from my understanding, the main thing is the ports out of the box are pretty good. Now, he did not do any port work to this at all. You can see there is a lip right there, and I am not going to put this on the bike unported. This is only the second time I have ever touched one of these, let alone seen one and all that. So in my opinion, the transfers look like they're kind of congested. Now, if you look here, they're huge. Big old openings to get into the transfer, but once you're actually in the motor, they are very congested looking transfers. You can even see a couple like imperfections right there and stuff. I mean, it's not bad, don't get me wrong. Boy, there's some heft to this thing. Now, this is cool. So what this is this is bolted on right now, but this is the flange for the exhaust. So when you get one of these and put it on a motorized bike, you cannot put a motorized bike muffler pipe on here because, I mean, you can't put a stock one on here because it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit because it's a different layout and the angle and stuff is different. So this is cool because we could take this flange and we can put it on to a pipe. Now, do I have a pipe in mind? Yes. Have I been holding on to a pipe that I was thinking about putting on here? Maybe, possibly, definitely yes. But all in all, I mean, it looks really clean. He didn't run this very long from my understanding. Don't remember all the videos. I did watch them all, but I don't remember them all. I think he ran the block off plate with the G2 reed. He has it all sealed up and everything. Or you could run the stock plate that comes with these. And the piston is already, wow, he didn't even import the piston. That's awesome. So everything I get to do myself. A little bit of transfer there. That noise you hear in the background is the ultrasonic cleaner running. You know, 'tis what it is. Now, there is no oiling holes on the piston here. I am definitely going to drill it out and put oiling holes. Mind you, like I said, I've never touched one of these. I don't know what needs to be done with this. Now, before I could do anything, I'm going to have to go over everything. I'm going to surface everything and get my rough measurements. All right, guys, so we are back at it. I got everything out of the bath. So, you know, I was ultrasonic cleaning. Everything literally took me all night. But the plus side, you saw how dirty it was, and look how clean it is now. That is a little bit... That's a little bit of oil. I have some WD out. But, like, look, I mean, you still see staining. But, look, I mean, this was filthy, okay? Look how clean it is. Here, this is the case. Look how clean it is. And I still got to sand down this, you know, everything. Like, you know how dirty the clutch area gets from the grease and stuff. And you know it's a used case because it's got the mark. Look how clean it gets it. So it takes an hour and a half to get like a section done, but it's worth it. You don't have to scrub it. And honestly, I would never be able to get the metal shine like this. The whole idea behind ultrasonic cleaning is it gets it clean at a molecular level. Either way, nonetheless, it is super clean. And the main thing is just so you're not getting super greasy while you're messing with it. Okay, good, great, grand, wonderful. I'm sure already by now you have seen a cylinder sitting on my table. Well, a lot of you probably know what that is. Not to mention, it was in the thumbnail and on the title, so you already know what this video is about. We tried to rebuild an 80cc, and it's just not going to work. Now, the big thing is we are very close to 2,000 subscribers. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate it. And the like button. Also appreciate that a lot. But I wanted to do something special for the 2,000 subscriber, whatever, you know, feet. Milestone. That's the word. Sorry. English is my first language. It's also my most difficult to speak. So I figured, you know what? Let's do the Minarelli build. LA Hover gave me this well over a year and a half ago, it turns out. So it's time. You know, he said he didn't care when I did it. There was no rush, blase, but, you know, we all know that's a lie. You want the person to do it if they give you something because it makes you feel happy. So I'm sure he wanted me to get to it, but I'm also sure he doesn't care at the same time. So I'm just super thankful that he did give it to me. I'm sure I would have got a hold of one eventually, but having this to build at one point when I wanted to is awesome. So it needs a lot. I went over a little bit with you on what exactly is wrong with it just by glancing at it. So everything's clean now. We can now put the motor together-ish, basically the bearings in, the crank in, so I can start to get measurements, because I need to get measurements on everything. I gotta make sure the spacer's right, I gotta make sure the crank's right, I just gotta make sure everything is right. And the only way I could do that is if I put it together. Now, I got this crank in a horse trade. This crank is brand new, I think. There does not seem to be any play at all. I'm pretty sure the crank's new. I am pretty sure. I mean, it really feels solid. And it is a Zeta 80. These are supposed to be 40 millimeters, so out of a 40 motor, which is out of an 80cc. So we're gonna take this crank. I basically tried to, you know, smack it all together and get it a trued. I just trued it up. We're gonna throw it in. So I gotta get the bearings set in, I get the crank in, I'm gonna bolt it down, and I'm gonna get the piston on. Now this is the piston, this is not a new piston. This is the piston he gave me. So it has a couple marks right here, here. I will sand that down when I'm ready to actually use it, but this was a used motor. Look how clean the ultrasonic got the piston. It looks brand new outside of this, you know, a little bit of scratching. Now, from the video, if I remember correctly, after he wrote it, he said he did not do any port work, and it's apparent that there's no port work. I think that this is how it comes. Now, I don't know for a fact. I don't know if it was him that did this or if it was the guy Darcy. Either way, there is definitely power to be had just in this spacer alone. There's power to be had in the piston. Now, I have you guys know, I have never built a Minarelli top end kit on any motor. Been wanting to do it for a while, never have before. So anything I do is going to be brand new to me. But just glancing through this with how congested it is, I could see that there's a lot of power to be made in the cylinder itself. Now it's going to be a little bit harder. This is, I think, just cast iron, so it shouldn't grind that hard. But there is a lot of congestion in the transfers, in the intake, and in the exhaust. So we got lots to do. But before we could do anything, we need to get measurements. Why'd you die? What happened? Are you dead? I guess you're dead. What? Why are you... Did I not hit record on any of that? Alright, so I'm just going to run you down really quick what I've done so far. So you saw in the beginning of the video, the piston was really chewed up right here, and right here was the worst. Right on the edges of the exhaust, and then also here and here on the intake side, but not that bad on the intake. It was less on the intake. It was more on the exhaust with this. So you can see these lines. They're still there. This one's out, and this one is there. Now, with your nail, you can still feel it. Not there, but right there where it's the worst. This one, you could feel that one a little and that one, but when you run your finger, you don't feel it. This one you can see, but you can't feel. You can just see the discoloration right there. So I sanded the whole thing down and tried to keep it as symmetrical as possible because I didn't want it to, you know, be out of round. You could see how slow it goes down. So it's still a tight fit. You know, I used 120 to get the bulk of it, and then I used 180 to get the finer scratches out, or the bigger scratches, so that it was very fine. And then I took my buffing wheel and I polished. This is super smooth to the touch. Like, it is, you can see it's shiny again. So yesterday, that's what we did. We got the piston fixed for the most part. Now there is more I'm going to do to this. I'm not done yet. There is actually quite a bit I'm going to do to it. I really want to perfect this issue. Now, I never did this before on a piston, and I don't know if it's going to work, if I'm being completely honest. And I'll show you what we're going to do. I have a plan to put some dimples in this area to help with oiling. Now, I think LA did it. I'm not 100% sure. Not to this one, to his ported one from Darcy. I believe he drilled 4 holes to help with oiling through the piston. I am not going to do that. I'm actually going to put a line of holes right here, but I'm not going to go through the piston. I'm basically going to make dimples kind of like the outside of a golf ball. I'm hoping that will allow it to trap air so that it gives it more cushion to keep it off of the cylinder wall so it doesn't ride on it as much. Also, I'm going to make sure that I warm it up properly because that's a main issue with these things. Okay, so real quick, I got the numbers and I wrote them down here. So before any port work, all I did was deck the cylinder, deck the case, get the squish right. The squish is 0.68, you guys saw on the camera there. It's transferred. Opens at 123, closes at 237, 114 degrees of duration. That's not bad. That's good. Intake, NA, reed valve. Oh, not available, reed valve. Just kidding. I wrote that. The exhaust opens at 98, closes at 262, 164 degrees of duration. Blowdown, 24 degrees. These numbers are like perfect numbers for a daily. These are actually numbers that I do to a lot of my motors. So without touching anything, we already have really nice looking numbers. So where do you port it? Where do you get the power? I know for a fact that these numbers are not strong enough to give us the power that we need. They're good numbers, but they're not going to get us, oh my goodness, hold on to the handlebars, it's going to flip over backwards kind of thing. So where are we going to get that from? I have a couple ideas, and I'll share them with you when I start grinding on this. Nonetheless, the casting is not perfect. There's a lot of flaws in the casting and what have you, so we have a lot of work to do to just flatten it out. Before I go to sleep, I'm going to try to mark up the cylinder with where I think everything should be. This is cast iron. This is going to take a lot more work to grind on. The transfers themselves are going to be extremely hard to do because it's cast iron and because it's a 47mm bore. So this is going to take some finagling and some care, but I'm going to head off to bed. But before I do, I'm going to put a little more thought into this, and then I'm going to mark up the cylinder where I think we should get it. So this one should be pretty easy to grind as a whole, for the exhaust especially. That's where we're going to start. Also, if you do catch me at the moment with a cape, it's because at the current moment I am in my superhero form because I was playing with the kids. And if you must know, my superhero name is the Dad Bod Man. So don't mind the superhero powers or the cape. It only makes me port better. Okay guys, so we got the ports done. I'll show you in a second, but let's get a measurement on everything real quick and write her down. So a refresher, so you guys know, our transfers were 114 degrees of duration. Our goal was 130 degrees of duration area, and our exhaust 164 degrees of duration, which is a really good duration for a stock motor. Our goal for the exhaust was 186. Now the big problem with that, we found once I measured, if I would have went all the way to the 186, which I got really close, and I'll show you, maybe I had another 1/2 millimeter to go, but I didn't want to take a chance of blowing through the exhaust port. With the measurements I gave it, it seemed close, so I didn't want to go anymore. Let's start with the exhaust. We'll measure that first, and that puts us at a 180 degree duration. Now for the transfers, that gives us a duration of 128. And the intake again is a reed, so that is unmeasurable. It's got all the intake duration. The blowdown, we got 26 degrees of blowdown, and our squish should still be 0.67. So that's really great, guys. So we were able to get our blowdown at 26. Our goal was around 25 to keep it about the same. The transfers, our goal was about 130. We got a 128 degree duration, and our exhaust, our goal was 186. We got it to 180 for safety reasons. I just did not want to go anymore. Now, as far as I'm concerned, that's phenomenal. We hit the head right on the nail. We knocked it out of the park and stuff. We did good, is what I'm saying. So let me show you what we got for the for the ports. Now nothing's finished yet, but this is our ports so far. I still gotta take the barrels to it, sand it down, make it nice and smooth. The exhaust we're gonna make really primo, of course, like always, but this is just burr. Okay, all I did was use the burr on it and grinder and the burr. I widened it a little bit, raised it, as you can see. Our transfers, I raised them, as you could see. And the big one here, inside, it's a little rusty because I cleaned it with water. I opened up the lower transfers. I hope you can see that. It was quite a bit of work. It took me a few hours to do this, if I'm being honest, mainly because it's steel, it's iron. It's much harder to grind and takes much longer to grind, although I find it to be much more forgiving to grind on this than I do any aluminum, for the main reason of aluminum, one quick move and you could really mess up. The steel, you could push pretty hard and it takes a while to wear it away. So honestly, if I was anybody, I'd recommend getting an old steel, getting an old cylinder for a Minarelli and practice grinding on that, because it lets you really, work at it. Now there is some nicks, or what looks like nicks. Those are not nicks right in here. You see that? That's actually the head of my angle grinder. It's just when I go against it, it will wipe off when I clean everything up. But that tool, this tool here, is absolutely amazing for getting in here. Look, I'm up against the wall. You can see it does not hit, and it allows me to get in here really nice on all the parts. It really does a great job, both sides. That changed the level of work I could do. It's crazy how much better I could do with that. Now, as far as the intake goes, I'm not really sure what's gonna help. What I do know is gonna help is because the case has to be opened up still and it goes in through here down into the case. I know that this needed to be opened up, so I brought this down below the skirts of the transfers. So that should really help a lot right there, okay? I also opened this up in here. I ported this all through here really nice and opened that up. Basically, I wanted to make it as wide as the tunnel or the window in the skirt. I basically just went off the geometry of all the rest of the windows, which is basically the same size as the windows in the actual piston. As far as why I went in here like this, I really wanted to get the air smoother in the transition. I just wanted the transition to be smoother, and that's really it. Other than that, I left it as is. But I mean, it is quite dramatically different compared to before. I really think this is going to perform. Again, I've said it 12 times. I've never worked on one of these before, so I really don't know what I'm doing in any way. I'm just going off of work I've done on previous motors and whatnot. Now, the next is I got to work on the case, and I have to work on the spacer and the piston. Okay guys, I'm pretty stoked about this. So we have everything done. I got it about as symmetrical as I could. Okay, so that's me port matching the case to the spacer. I also finished port matching the spacer to the cylinder. So those are matched up really nice now. I also ported out the spacer itself. I made everything just, you can look at it. It looks much more symmetrical with the way it's ground down. And then I trenched the case a little bit. Not a lot of it, just a little bit. So you can see what it looks like. So that's how it looks. I think it looks great. That, where it looks black, that's just a marker from drawing on it. But you just have to trust me that it matches up really nice. So I'm really happy with that. Everything looks and matches up really, really nice. Wipe my hands of it and we're ready to go. We're ready to move on to stage 3 of the build, and that's going to sleep. And then when we wake up, we can do stage 4 of the build, which is putting it all together and then maybe trying to fire it up somehow. Don't have an exhaust, got to work on that. That's a big one. Okay, on an older crank, I always like to, clean everything up. From everything I could tell, this is a brand new crank that has just been sitting. It's very tight. It's an original Zeta 80. So that's nice. It runs true. So I want to use it. So what I do, because you could sit here with the sandpaper and, take forever, what I do is I get a regular bolt and I put it in the end. I get my drill with the socket attachment on it, and then I just turn it. And not too fast because you don't want to get hit in the face with that. You just run it over it like this with some constant pressure and it's good. Now I am only using 220 grit because I'm not trying to remove any material really. I'm just trying to smooth out what I have. You can see, it doesn't really remove any material, it just smooths it out because it's such a high grit. So I can show you real quick. I did the oiling holes. This one is a little too far over in my opinion, so I didn't get it where I want, but it is what it is. I also did this. So right here on all of this is where the scoring was on the piston, because that's where it rides when it has a cold seizure, meaning when you don't let the cylinder warm up enough to expand properly so that you don't seize the piston in there by over revving it in the early stages of it warming up. So right here is where the scoring was. Now LA Hover, because I went back and rewatched the video, he put a hole somewhere around where this one is, all the way around, for oiling, to help with oiling. Now I'm not doing it that way. Now I don't think it would matter if you put the hole in it like that, for a couple reasons. One, it's below the rings, so you're not losing any of the pressure above the rings anyway. And two, it has a reed valve because it's a windowed piston. So I think you could 100% get away with that. But my idea behind it was, this is how a golf ball is, because it helps it flow through the air so much easier.
Yeah, boy.
None of them are all the way through. They're all just really surface dimples. So I'm gonna try this, see if it works, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully, what I'm hoping is oil will get trapped in there, keep the oil there once it gets there, and because of the shape, it's like a golf ball, how it helps it go through the air. I'm hoping that will help it keep a cushion of air between the piston and the walls as it goes faster and faster, because the air will slide through there so easily. So we'll see if this helps, if this works, and you guys will be the second to know, because I'll be the first. If you ever need help, by all means, hit me up on Johnny's Motorized Bicycles Facebook group or the group chat, and I will help you with whatever I can, or one of the many other people that are in there will reach out and help you if you ask a question. It's free to join. Feel free to get in there and join up. Guys, I am very excited about this. My Moto Seal has run its last race. And the other day, I picked up a new one, and call me crazy. Maybe let me know down in the comments what you think, but this really excites me that I get to open up a fresh unit. Yay! Sorry. Okay, so I think the next thing I'm going to do is the case seals. I have new case seals going in, of course, but to do it properly, in my opinion, and you guys have probably noticed, I do use a paintbrush for everything. I'm putting a small little bit of my Moto Seal all the way around where the seal goes, because I want to make sure it's got a nice seal going. I also don't go all the way to the bearing, because you don't need to. Remember, when you push the seal in, it is going to go and push anything you have down, because it is an interference fit. It's good. And then also we need a wee bit of oil, because you do not want to put these on dry. Now, if you're having trouble with it going in, rotate your motor a little, and that will seat. Sometimes you can get that to turn inside out, and that's really bad, because then you dislodge the spring and you got to start all over again, this, that, and the other. Okay, so I'm just going to show you real quick. So I drilled them out, but if you look at that one, nice and flat. That's right. And you're like, well, Johnny, how did you do it? Because look how domed out that is. Those are domed. Well, let me show you. So on my little thingamabob, they give you like a little flat disc, which I'm going to use this to make pop-ups from now on when I got to make a squish band. Did not think about this with my last one. This is super rigid and nice, but nonetheless, I took some double-sided tape and I put it on my 60 grit, cut out a little hole, bada bing, bada boom, got myself a little flat disc that I can use to sand down the rest of the way. So I drilled it to cut down the majority of it, and then I use this to get in there. And the amount I'm taking off is just the right amount for a flat washer and almost a lock washer, which means I can screw in the studs a little farther than originally thought and allow me to get a little bit more bite. Alright guys, so I'm putting a Moto Seal on. I just wanted to give you a quick looky-loo on what it looks like. Can you see down in there on the ports and the matchings and all that? Oh, it looks good. Came out great. Piston with the speed holes, I guess we'll call it. Everything is just looking really, really, really great. Or as I like to say, it looks really money too, which is pretty much a perfect squish. I was just trying to go for a little bit snugger, but that's okay. Can't argue with perfection, can you? I mean, I guess you could, but then you'd be an internet warrior and not my friend. So there you go. That's our squish 0.72. All right, guys, welcome back to the channel, and thank you for tuning in as always. So what we're doing today is a little bit fun. We are really coming up. Go play. Go ahead. Go play. It's a good day like any other day, really. But we are very close to our 2,000 subscriber mark, which for that, I want to do something special if I ever get to record this clip with these two knuckleheads. So we're digging out Purple Nightmare, so give me a second to get that out, and we're going to see what we can throw on there. Okay guys, so this is what we're working on. I dug it out, it's up in front. I had to do a little bit of house cleaning, yard cleaning. I just wanted to straighten it up, give the kids a pile of leaves to jump in, why not? So they're gonna be out here, there's probably gonna be plenty of noise being said. There you go. But we gotta get this ready to accept a motor. Now the motor we're putting on, I think you all know what it's gonna be. Now, to be honest with you, this doesn't need much work. Actually, that's what I thought. It shouldn't need much work, but in reality, it needed about 2 days of fixing, which I completely cut out just to speed along the video. Coming out of retirement, so to speak, after just getting gone through. I just put brand new tires on it. I just relaced the rims where needed, retrued the wheels. I went through the whole bike top to bottom and greased it all up and got it all back up perfect. But it does run 26-inch wheels, which we have a steel in the rear and an aluminum in the front. We have a little bit of play in the back wheel, which we got to address, but everything was just gone through, so I probably just didn't get the cone nut tight enough and it loosened up. I got a new chain to put a new chain on. I got a heavy duty chain because I have a feeling we're gonna need it. We're gonna go through it. The main reason we gotta do this is we gotta try to fit this motor on here for one, and for two, I gotta try to fit the exhaust, and I gotta do all that other nonsense. Now I gotta get a brace in the back here and figure out exactly how this is gonna go. Boy, that's tight. If I don't put a bracket on, it's gonna be really tight, isn't it? To get that exhaust to bend around this. Oh yeah, that is gonna be tough. Also the carb. So I don't have the stock setup. There is a stock style reed block that you can put here and then run a carb directly off of it, which would make it really clean and simple in my opinion, and also the best option. But let me go find the mounts that I want to put on this, and we'll take it from there and see what happens, because as it sits, this thing is way more involved than I thought it was going to be. I knew we were going to be doing some finagling, but I had no idea I was going to be doing that much finagling to get it just to fit on the bike. Okie dokie. As you can see, we are back outside. And we're happy about it. Why are we happy about it? Well, let me tell you. Because I'm pretty sure we got the carburetor completely attached appropriately. So that's a good thing. Let's hook it up and see how we did. Hopefully we did good, but we don't know for sure. Let me get the carburetor back together, and next step is the exhaust and figuring out how we're gonna make the mount be permanent. All right guys, I am running out to the front to give this thing a whirly gig. It is 100% done. There is nothing else that needs to be done at all for this to run properly, except for maybe putting an exhaust on, but that's just really nitpicking things. So we're just gonna try to get it to pop off. We're not gonna ride it far. I just want to see if the thing actually makes any noise. All right guys, if this doesn't fire up, the video is just gonna end right here. Okay, are we gonna try any choke? Probably not. Just because. Let's see if this thing even turns. Boy, the turns nice, smooth. Sounds pretty nasty. I gotta get an exhaust on. I only rode it around the block to see if it would fire, but honestly, she fired right up considering. You're going back in my pocket to catch the rest of this, but guys, that's first start. Oh yeah, so we got a pipe blader on it. We are running a stock pipe on here for the time being, and this is about as close as I'm willing to let you get to those welds. My goodness. I am not the worst welder in the world, but I was trained by the worst welder in the world, which makes me about the second worst welder in the world. However, it works, and if it works, is it really a bad idea? Yes. Yes, it is. Either way, we're going out for a quick test ride. I have no idea what's going to happen. Wish me luck. Hopefully, no big air leak coming from the exhaust side.
air leak. It's definitely hard needs to be tuned, obviously. It likes to run on choke, or half choke, even though you really can't do that. So I'm going to take it back before I ride it a lot more. Even though it's freezing cold out right now. I got no ear muffs on or nothing. But put the stock pipe on, or a stock 80 pipe, China Doll pipe. But she's looking. She's definitely not too bright. But I think I got an 85 main and a 32 pilot. It's definitely lean. Here, you see the way it starts slow to spread down, and the way it only wants to run on choke. Oh, there we go, died out. Choke. Go right up. So it only wants to run on choke, but it doesn't go very high rev on choke there. It's cut out. Like even if it's warmed up right now, I got to start it every time on choke. So it's definitely lean. We got to put a bigger main jet in for sure. I don't seem too bad. See the way it revs like that and stuff, surges. Definitely yeah, this is the official ride and first fire up. The other one was just to see if the port timing was even feasible for what I had going. I had no idea. Cruising to put in the port timing definitely good, and it's also pretty killer timing, to be honest with you. If I'm being honest, it seems like it might be pretty good timing. I didn't get to go as high as I wanted on the exhaust, but I think we're okay. Well, there you go, guys. I just took it on a first ride. I had you in portrait mode because it's just the way I was doing everything while I was riding. It was quite hard to do, but nonetheless, that's it. She's not bad. We got just a stock old pipe on there. It doesn't hit it or anything, you know, meaning it doesn't hit the pipe or nothing, but it's on there. Sounds cool. It's completely gutted. That pipe is really, really gutted. I think the clog that pipe is probably the booger welds on the inside where I connected the 3 different pieces of pipe in to get those bends. But I just thought this would be good practice on thin metal like that, because I am the second worst welder in the world. Unfortunately, I was trained by the worst welder in the world, and since I'm self-taught, that tells you exactly what it is. But I'll get a real pipe on there. I'm probably going to try to do some type of a belly pipe. That is definitely my dream pipe, so to speak. And we definitely got to get her tuned up. Nonetheless, the basic story is she runs and she rides good. We got to get the pipe tuned, the carb tuned up. I think the carb could probably benefit from a bigger main jet. I think I got an 85 in there now. We need to get like a 90 in there. I mean, as it sits, we're not bad. I think it's a 32 pilot and 85 main. And it definitely feels like it's slow to slow down, so I'm thinking maybe the pilot jet is a little too lean also. And then, of course, the main jet, I haven't gone all the way out, but maybe the main jet's okay. The needle definitely needs to be adjusted, because mid-range is a little bit lean, and it's a little lean coming off of idle, which all works with the idle circuit from my understanding. I'm not very good with these carburetors, but we'll get her. And nonetheless, I'm stoked. I don't know when we'll start on the real pipe that's going to go on this bike, but for now, I'm fine with this. It sounds cool. I personally love that sound with a little bit of pop. I don't need all that craziness. This would be cool to have the expansion chamber on it, but at the same time, I don't need it to hit the pipe. That is, I'm not really interested in that at all right now, because of who's going to be riding this bike the majority of the time. This is Heather's bike, so more than likely she is going to be riding this the most, but not until it's tuned up, because as of now it only runs on choke. Well, it has to be started every time on choke. We'll see what we can do with that. Nonetheless, she's good, and she doesn't sound crazy loud, but she's not crazy quiet, and she definitely has some pulling power, and considering how messed up the tune is, she pulls hard. If I'm being honest, like truly honest, my YD 100 pulls just as hard as this does without a pipe on it. You know what I mean? The one I got on Tweaker, the CDH pulls just as hard as this. But those are perfectly tuned. This one is horribly not tuned. So I can imagine when this is tuned properly, how much better it's gonna be, because it doesn't have any gumption. It's all bogfest. So if this is pulling as hard as them, now completely messed up, and those are premium, I can only imagine how nice this is gonna be when it's fully ripping. All right, guys, I'll talk to you later. Peace.